Welcome everyone back to the channel and another podcast. My name's Paul, I'm a recovered addict living in Peterhead in Scotland. I'm really pleased to be joined today by Catherine.
Hi, Paul. My name's Catherine. I'm an addict and an alcoholic.
Thanks so much for joining us today. So today is a big book study. We're going to be taking a look at some topics from the book Alcoholics Anonymous and sharing back on each other's experience and reading. So without further ado, I just want to say there's lots of broadcasts on this channel. There are podcasts in each of the steps. In fact, there's 2 on step 1, 2 on step 2. We've got 1 on the Spiritual Malady, an entire psychic change. I think there's about 15 personal stories on here just now. And then this is the latest format we've developed, which is basically a big book study that we may actually consider streaming live on YouTube at some point in the future. So the format is we each bring a topic and we each share back on each other's topic. So if you're still using drugs and you're looking for a solution, we have a solution. We know exactly how it works. Further on in this broadcast, information about how to get to meetings face-to-face and online will be on the screen. Wherever you see this broadcast posted on In the Room, Skype, WhatsApp or YouTube, please reach out in the conversation below and we'll get back to you. So without further ado, it gives me great pleasure to hand the meeting over to you, Catherine. You've got a reading for us, and perhaps if you could share on it, that would be great.
Yeah, no problem. So the reading that I've chose is Into Action, Chapter 6. So having made our personal inventory, what shall we do about it? We have been trying to get a new attitude and a new relationship with our Creator and discover the obstacles in our path. We have admitted certain defects and have ascertained in a rough way what the trouble is. We have put our finger on the weak items and in our personal inventory. Now these are about to be cast out. This requires action on our part, which when completed will mean that we have admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our defects. This brings us to the 5th step in the programme of recovery mentioned in the preceding chapter. This is perhaps difficult, especially discussing our defects with another person. We think we have done well enough in admitting these things to ourselves. There is doubt about that. In actual practice, we usually find a solitary self-appraisal insufficient. Many of us have thought it necessary to go much further. We will be more reconciled to discussing ourselves with another person when we see the good reasons why we should do so. The best reason first, if we skip this vital step, we may not overcome drinking. Time after time, newcomers have tried to keep themselves certain facts about their lives, trying to avoid this humbling experience. They have come to easier methods. Almost invariably, they get drunk. Having persevered with the rest of the programme, they wondered why they fell. We think the reason is they never completed their house cleaning. They took inventory all right, but hung on to some of the worst items in stock. They only thought they had lost their egoism and fear. They only thought they had humbled themselves, but they had not learned enough of humility, fearlessness and honesty in the sense that we find it necessary until we told someone else all of their life story. More than most people, the alcoholic leads a double life. He is very much an actor. To the outside world, he presents his stage character. This is one he likes his fellows to see. He wants to enjoy a certain reputation, but knows in his heart he doesn't believe it. The consistency is made worse by the things he does on the sprees. Coming to his senses, he is revolted at certain episodes he vaguely remembers. These ones have those memories are a nightmare. He trembles to think someone might have observed him. As fast as he can, he pushes these memories fast inside himself. He hopes they will never see the light of day. He's under constant fear and tension, and that makes for more drinking. So that's me. Just read a some bit of chapters into action.
That's brilliant. Great reading. Do you want to share on what you've read, or
Yeah, yeah. I'll share what I've read. Action.
Can I be a nuisance and just ask anyone in the background? It's just picking up any kind of noise in the background just eventually. Thanks.
All right. Jordan, can you stop making a noise trying this? So we've been trying to get a new attitude, and we need to change that attitude, or I need to change that attitude, or the same person riddled with the bedevilments on page 52, having trouble with personal relationships, emotional insecurity, full of fear, very unhappy, will remain so unless I complete that action. I had known my sponsor for several months, so she knew my general share. My issue was that once I relapsed due to lack of action, unsure my higher power, using my higher power as a kind of Santa Claus. Can I get this and can I get that? And will this be done? Not thy will be done. So I disconnected from me, and therefore I relapsed. So I didn't complete the action the first time. I've now completed the action, and the obsession for drink and drugs has been removed for nearly 3 years. That's me.
That's absolutely amazing. Thanks so much, Catherine, for sharing. Yeah, it is a great bit of the book. I really, really like it. And being like self-aware of character defects is really, really important. Yeah, it's a great bit of the book. And the obsession being removed is such a wonderful thing. I think transparency and accountability are the prime things here. Yeah. So this would be around step 4, wouldn't it? I think that's what we're coming on to. Is that right on this chapter? Wait a minute. Oh, that's around step 4, moving on to 5 and 6, isn't it here? Yeah. So resentments, fears, and harms. If I'm resentful and fearful, that means I'm angry and confused. And if I'm angry and confused, then I can be harmful. You know, thankfully for a long time, if I'm harmful, it's just verbally. I might say something a little bit harshly, but that's the reason why most of us do it in the order of resentments, fears, and harms. If I'm angry and confused, then I can be harmful. And moving on to 5, 6, and 7 with the information that we've concluded in the end columns in step 4, it's a very empowering thing. It's like the springboard into the rest of our lives, isn't it? You know, I like how it says there that the idea of accountability, as in working the steps with someone rather than a solitary self-appraisal, as it says there.
Yeah. The second time I knew my part and everything that I'd written down. So I'm not so sure about the first time because I wasn't sure about the steps, but because I'd been through the steps before, I definitely knew my part, but my sponsor did add some more things. Mostly it was fear driven. Everything came back to fear, self-centered, self-seeking, but mostly fear.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, for me today, alcoholism manifests along the lines of fear, character defects, and oppression. You know, when you just feel under pressure, it's like there's just no rhyme or reason to it. You just feel, you know, this is a situation. And I think that's where good habits come in, you know, consistency comes in, restraint, upon tongue, the grace of God, you know, the knowledge of the program, and being in that relationship. with the creator.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
I really like this bit of the book, and it says there many of us have turned to easier methods.
Yes, easier, softer way.
Mm.
That that doesn't work. After after 5 years, I tried easier, softer way. I thought I didn't need the meetings anymore. I didn't need the fellowship anymore. And within 2 years, I'd lost the mental defence required for me not to lift that first drink once it was mentioned.
I like how it says there as well at top of page 73. They only thought they'd lost their egoism and fear. They only thought that they'd humble
Yes.
themselves. There was a good old Irish, my grandmother was Irish, and she used to say, you know what thought did? Followed a muck cart and thought it were a wedding.
Yeah, I know that my mum used to say that as well. You know what thought did, but I never actually knew what thought did, but I knew it wasn't a good thing.
And I think that's the difference between, I mean, the chapter is called Into Action. You know, it's not into talking or into thinking. And, well, Bill, many things are attributed to Bill, but apparently he said, carry the message and if necessary, use words.
Yeah,
Um, and so um, I think being in the solution, doing the next right thing is the solution. So I ought to have either just been doing something productive, or I'm about to do something productive.
yeah,
You know what I'm trying to say? Doing rather than thinking. We
yeah,
live our way into right thinking, and I'm
yeah.
really pleased that you brought this portion of the book.
Yeah, I love that, but I wasn't sure whether to do that or, as I was saying, Bill's story. But I had a look at that and I just thought into action. And as you're saying, like talking instead of doing. I remember at a meeting, someone said there's three frogs sitting ready to jump into a pool. Two decide to jump in. How many frogs are left? There's three frogs left because
Oh yeah, good point. Yeah,
action. Yeah.
yeah, that's
So
right.
I found that really that stuck with me for many
Yeah,
years.
yeah. And this bit here at the top of page 73, the last bit of the paragraph where it says, until they told someone else all their life story, and there are many ways to take folks through the 12 steps. There are,
Yeah.
I'm aware of at least a 10 or more. I myself have got 4 different ways to take folk through the 12 steps, but it's still the 12 steps. And
Yeah.
here is the line how some folks, as part of taking them through, they have them write out their life story. It's not a technique I use, but this is where they get that from.
Yeah.
Um, it's quite a various book. There's so much wealth of knowledge and information in the literature.
Yeah, there certainly is. I noticed that when it says told someone else to tell all their life story, and it's one of these things that can be misconstrued because it's their life story regarding what makes people, what makes us want to drink, not just a life story that we have a gran in Australia or
Mm,
things like that. So
aye,
yeah, a lot
that's a
of
good
people
point.
do write their
Yeah,
their life story, don't they?
they do, and one of my one of my pet hates is when if I log into it and someone's doing a main share and they spend 5 minutes talking about sort of things that have nothing to do with alcoholism, right?
Yeah,
But you've just got to endure it, you know what I mean? But at
yeah,
any rate, and I like this next bit, and it's a very solemn bit. The alcoholic leads a double life, very much the actor,
yes,
and I think, for anyone in recovery, these are challenging words in the book. You know,
yeah,
sometimes we present a stage character, the one that we want everyone to see. You know,
Yeah,
We want things in a
definitely.
certain location, but we know we don't deserve it. These are very deep personal issues as regards self-image, self-esteem, and
Yeah.
self-worth. You know. But anyway, back to the subject, Paul. Lest I get into psychology. Um, and here we are again. Look at this next one. The things we do on our sprees. You know.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Not good. Not good. Many, many times have I woke up or came to and just thought, no.
Aye.
And I look back and I just think, who was that person? Who
Aye.
who was that person? It's just I don't know her, and I'm glad I don't know her, but
I mean, yeah.
not good.
One of the things about staying sober and staying connected to the fellowship, you hear more than enough accounts of what happens on sprees.
Yeah,
For coming back into recovery to keep you, it's an empowering thing in itself. And someone said
yeah,
when you're working with others and staying close to fellowship, you can learn from other folks' mistakes. Um, and it can help you stay free yourself.
definitely. Yeah, definitely. A lot of people have says when I've mentioned going back out to try give it another go. Well, that's saved me doing it basically.
Yeah,
So yes, it has helped other people because the progression is insane. It's a 100 times worse, at least. John's here by the way now.
hello, John.
How you doing, Paul?
Hiya, mate. Good to hear you. Glad you're here. Thanks for coming on the podcast. Do you want to introduce yourself, John?
Yeah, John, alcoholic addict from Glasgow.
Excellent, excellent. Shall I bring on my topic? Are you going to look out a topic for us in the book, John, to
Yeah, I'll get
bring to
one.
the
I'll get one.
podcast in about 5-10 minutes while
Yeah, sure, sure.
I'll put my one up. Is that okay?
Aye, fine.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Wait a minute. Technology is a wonderful thing when it cooperates. Wait a minute. Page 13, Bill's story. Then I humbly offered myself to God, as I then understood him, to do with me as he would. I placed myself unreservedly under his care and direction. I admitted for the first time that of myself I was nothing, that without him I was lost. I ruthlessly faced my sins and became willing to have my newfound friend take them away, root and branch. I have not had a drink since. My schoolmate visited me and I fully acquainted him with my problems and deficiencies. We made a list of people I'd hurt or towards whom I felt resentment. I expressed my entire willingness to approach these individuals, admitting my wrong. Never was I to be critical of them. I was to right all such matters to the utmost of my ability. I was to test my thinking by the new God consciousness within. Common sense would thus become uncommon sense. I was to sit quietly when in doubt, asking only for direction and strength to meet my problems as he would have me. Never was I to pray for myself, except as my requests bore my usefulness to others. Then only might I expect to receive, but that would be in great measure. My friend promised when these things were done, I would enter upon a new relationship with my Creator, that I would have the elements of a way of living which answered all my problems, belief in the power of God, plus enough willingness, honesty, and humility to establish and maintain the new order of things. These were the essential requirements. Simple but not easy. A price had to be paid. It meant destruction of self-centeredness. I must turn in all things to the Father of light who presides over us all. These were revolutionary and drastic proposals, but the moment I fully accepted them, the effect was electric. There was a sense of victory, followed by such a peace and serenity as I had never known. There was such a confidence I felt lifted up as though the great clean wind of a mountain top blew through and through. God comes to most men gradually, but his impact on me was sudden and profound. Yeah, I really like this bit of the literature, and I want to go to the second paragraph first. This one here, where it says, "My schoolmate visited me." I get the idea that in those days, 12-step recovery happened very firmly and thoroughly. You know, or rather, there it is. Sorry, it's in the first one where I read where it's there. I humbly offered myself. It says, I placed myself unreservedly under his care and direction. I ruthlessly faced my sins and became willing to have my newfound friend take them away root and branch. I've not had a drink since. So it's that idea of accountability and transparency. You know, sponsorship in those days and now has to be that thorough and crystal clear. You know, that's why I think a consequences list is such a vital part of early recovery and helping folks get clean in the first instance. You know,
Yeah.
to write a dozen or 15 or 20 bullet points, or ideally make 2 consequences lists, one for the home journal and one to carry with you when you go about your business every day, and take it out your pouch and read it a couple of times a day. Get real and honest about your consequences. It's very empowering. You
Yeah.
know, and that's what they did there. It says, I ruthlessly faced my sins, which is Old English, but we know what they mean, you know.
Yeah.
And then the willingness to have God. It's interesting that Bill describes God as his newfound friend. So it's a wonderful bit of the literature, and he's been sober since.
Yeah. I heard that, well, I read that Bill had been sober for periods because he knew the problem when he spoke to Dr. Silkworth, but of course he didn't know the solution until he spoke to Abby.
Yeah, that's a very important point you make there. I mean, many of the things we mention are elements in the program, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, the suggestions, particularly for anyone that's still drinking liquid drugs or powder, plant potions, pills, or other modes of drunkenness and getting high. You know, we have a solution. It's an all various solution that, you know, includes regular meeting attendance, a home group, online and face to face, reading the literature like we're doing now every day, reading your personal spiritual literature, prayer, meditation, reaching out, speaking with folks in recovery every day, and good self-care. There are a couple of other suggestions, but they're the main ones. And everyone that I've seen do all those things every day has stayed clean and had a manageable life. You know, they really have. And it's a very interesting point you make there, Catherine. You need to know more than the problem. You need to have the solution. When we get to step 2, you know, we identify precisely how God restores a person to sanity. You know, and it's through all those means that folks have conscious contact, you know, and have that ongoing vital spiritual experience sufficient to keep them interested and invested in sobriety, you know.
Yeah, definitely. I do love that paragraph as well. In fact, I love Bill's story from start to finish. I'd actually read Bill's story once just to see how much I would identify with him, and all the way through, paragraph after paragraph, I had identification with Bill, even though I'm completely different. I'm obviously female, come from a completely different walk of life, but just his feelings, his actions, the bathtub gin. Well, mine was just 2 bottles of wine, one in the morning, one at lunchtime. and that was me supposed to be working amphetamines to sober me up, because I was drinking, which is insane when you think about it. But I'm just so happy that I don't have. For me, the psychic change was not obsessing about alcohol. I didn't get a big flash of light. I didn't feel. I do have many spiritual experiences where I just feel total peace. But for me, the psychic change is, I would say, not obsessing about alcohol, and for that is a miracle, because it took me a year once I came back, and other substances. Once I had alcohol, then I had other substances mixed in with them. Some to bring me up, some to bring me down. A mixture basically, but it was just a shambles of a life, very unmanageable.
Yeah. John, do you want to come in on this part of the book, page 13? Do you want to come in and share with us?
Yeah.
Are you there?
Can you hear me?
Aye, it's a little bit quiet. Go ahead.
Really, that I ruthlessly faced my sins and became willing to have my newfound friend.
No, you're really, really quiet, John.
I don't know how to do that.
I can hear Catherine clearly.
Strange. Maybe move the computer round a bit. Yeah, move the computer.
Is that any better, Paul?
That's crystal clear. Go ahead.
Yeah, I like that part there. I ruthlessly faced my sins and became willing to have my newfound friend take them away. Root branch. I've not had a drink since. I believe was his spiritual awakening, you know, and God came into his life, took away the obsession, and gave him a faith to believe that he'd be able to, you know, conquer drink and alcoholism. My actual spiritual awakening, I think, began when I was in hospital. And I was in my double sepsis pneumonia. Thought I was going to die, and I prayed. The first time I really prayed for something good to happen. You know, out with the physical realms, or winning a lottery, or getting a horse race, or, you know, getting a new car, getting a new house, or whatever. You know, I just wanted to get out of hospital alive, and I made it. I made a miraculous recovery, you know, in 5 days. And that's when I came to believe that a power greater than me was looking after me. And I did just look at the footsteps of the sand in my life. I've been in car crashes, various incidents happened to us, very violent. And I was still here. And I looked up to God and said, you know, why me? Well, why not? You know what I mean? And I thought to myself, well, I'm still here today, you know, somebody's been looking after me. And that's when I came to believe my higher power was there. It's always been there, you know, at my side. And that's what I've came to believe today. He'll still be with me, you know, as long as I reach out, keep connected with him. With prayer, meditation. But in order to fight this illness as well, I need to stay connected with this fellowship. Because if I don't follow what's suggested in here, I know I'll go back out and drink. I've already done it, you know. And that's where my chapter, the one I've chosen is a bit more about alcoholism. Because I think that just describes the alcoholic's thinking to me, you know, which is very important.
Absolutely. What have you brought to us today, John, from the big book? What have you got?
More about alcoholism, Paul.
What page?
Very start, 30.
Right, I'll put it on screen. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, more about alcoholism. Most of us have been willing to admit we were real alcoholics. No person likes to think he is bodily or mentally different from his fellows. Therefore, it's not surprising that our drinking careers have been characterised by countless vain attempts to prove that we could drink like other people. The idea that somehow, someday, he will control and enjoy his drinking is the great obsession of every abnormal drinker. This persistence of this illusion is astonishing. Many pursue it into the gates of insanity or death. That's exactly what happened to me. And I just want to follow this wee paragraph here. It's just over on page 32. Just a man of 30.
Go ahead.
A man of 30 was doing a great deal of spree drinking. He was nervous in the morning. After these bouts, he quieted himself with more liquor. He was ambitious to succeed in business, but saw that he would get nowhere if he drank at all. Once he started, he could not control whatever. He made up his mind that until he had been successful in business and had retired, he would not touch another drop. An exceptional man, he remained bone dry for 25 years and retired at the age of 55. After a successful, happy business career, then he fell victim to the belief which practically every alcoholic has, that his long period of sobriety and self-discipline had qualified him to drink as other men. Out came his carpet slippers and bottle. In 2 months, he was in hospital, puzzled and humiliated. He tried to regulate his drinking for a while, making several trips to the hospital meantime. Then, gathering all his forces, he attempted to stop altogether and found he could not. Every means of solving the problem which money could buy was at his disposal. Every attempt failed. Though a robust man at retirement, he went to pieces and quickly was dead within 4 years. I was 42 when I first came to Alcoholics Anonymous, and I lasted seven years of sobriety. I had a quantity of sobriety. I never had what I believed a quality of sobriety, because I never believed in a higher power. I didn't get a sponsor straight away. It took me 3 years to get a sponsor because of ego and pride. Then I went through the steps, and I don't think I revealed everything I should have. And I was on my merry way. And at 49, I drifted away from the fellowship. I disconnected with it, just like the man did. After the 49, after the 7 years, I thought my 50th birthday I'd qualified to have a drink, because I was 50. I hadn't had a drink for 7 years. I thought I could drink like other men. But they're like the issue, the lie. And I was over in Florida. It was a nice sunny day. And if you asked me that day if I was going to drink, I would have said no. But the idea just came into my head. And I just walked over to the bar and took one. Catherine was with me. And that was the start of a 3-year decline into, which was to be the worst 3 years of her life. That day I was nearly arrested and deported for the country. Ended up staying sober for the rest of the week. But when I came back to Glasgow, I brought the illness back with us. So did Catherine. We began drinking. I was taking drugs as well. And we got to a point where we were so disconnected with each other that I was up the stairs I didn't want to be here anymore. I was snorting cocaine, drinking neat vodka, and snorting Oxycontin, wanting to die. And Catherine, unbeknown to me, was in the bedroom next to me. She'd taken an overdose. I drifted into unconsciousness, no home to live. And my son was outside crying. I could remember that. And I heard him, Dad, open the door. And I was telling him F off. 3 days or so later, I woke, started coughing up what was like black tar. And that's when I was rushed to the hospital. It was a life or death thing. It was a 50-50 chance that I survive. All my organs were starting to fail. I was putting all sorts of induced coma, it was called, and oxygen fed into catheters, etc. And it was about a day later when I gained consciousness that I actually prayed to God to get me out of there. And I made a miraculous recovery. Within about 5.5 days, I was back up on my feet. And the actual physicians there had said that it was one of the worst x-rays they'd ever seen. The amount of fluid that was in my lungs, they didn't know how I'd survived it. It was quite miraculous. And to me, that was a God moment for me, I believe. But that never stopped me, because I went back out and I started it again. Started drinking, taking drugs. So although I'd had that God awakening, I never actually sought a fellowship or a programme to keep it working. I wasn't doing prayers every day, you know, it was required. I wasn't keeping in contact with God, wasn't reading any literature. I wasn't keeping in contact with fellow addicts or alcoholics. And I came back to AA on my knees, and I get in there, and I'm nearly 3 years sober tomorrow, 12th of July. Well, I will be 3 years sober. I'm only 53 days clean, because I believed the lie that when I was drinking, I could take some cocaine, and again, I'd be okay with that. You know, I'd take it like a normal person. And I'd say, well, I'm okay, I'm just doing a wee line of cocaine here and there, but I'm still sober. And to me, because I'm an addict, that cocaine, that wee gram and that wee line turned into 10 gram in front of me. Well, 14 gram, I took 10 of them. I was going on meeting, saying to people that I was fine, I was well, there's blood streaming down my nose, I was putting the mic on and off, not showing myself in the camera. And I had 12 days clean time, and I had 4 grams sitting. And I thought to myself, I've got this power now that these people have gave me. You know, I've connected with them. I've got power over this 4 grams that's sitting there, but I never. And inevitable happened. I took them. And again, I ended up, walked away for the family home, ended up in a hotel somewhere, crying into the mirror, wondering what, where, why, how the hell this had happened. And I had to come back and get help, you know, and that's when I came back, and the gift of desperation was given to me, and I got back to CA. And a man was put in my path, armed with the facts, as you say in here, with a bit of depth of mate in his story. And he's helped me, you know, and I've kept connected ever since. And I'm glad I have, you know, because what's suggested in here and how it works in here was different for the fellowship I was in, that I couldn't talk about drugs, I couldn't talk about certain things that happened in my life, you know. That in CA, you can talk about all things, you know, it's all inclusive, alcohol, drugs, etc. And I could get a CGA, NA, CA, and AA, you know. I had a gambling problem as well, because I'm an addict, and I'm really quite a small fortune in that, and drugs and other things. So today I know what I'm, you know, but that's just coming back here and having to go through these steps again, be thoroughly honest, you know. And I'm on my step 9 now. I'm doing my Mile in Their Shoes. I've done them, and I'm writing amends letters to the people who I'd harmed. And it's quite emotional sometimes when you realise what you've done, why you've done it, and some of the people you've hurt, especially your family. because I hurt a lot of people, and that's what I try, for me, building my sobriety, and my programme works with the fireside out, and that's what I try to do it for the family. The people I hurt the most is the ones I love the most. It's a true saying, and that's where I am today. You know, I'm 53 days clean. I'm feeling the benefits of this programme. You know, we've got a lot of good pals in this, yourself included, Paul, Jess, the other ones on, Guy, etc. on the meeting. All good pals, and I stay connected. And people phone me, you know, where have you been? We've not seen you for a couple of days. Or they'll put a wee message in WhatsApp, you know, and it's great. But I know I need to do the work as well. You know, it's action, 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 and you need to keep connected. That's to your higher power as well. I've got that connection today, you know. And somebody's phoned me today and said they had a wee moment yesterday, they fell out with their father or something, and I said, well, see when that happens to somebody, and you make that mistake, try and make that person smile 5 times, especially if it's family in the one day. And that's just something I thought of myself, and I think it's great. And I try and do that today, every day, you know. If I make that mistake, I'll try and make that person, you know, whether it be Catherine, my son, my mum, or somebody outside, I'll try and make them smile a couple of times before I leave their company. It makes me feel better. It makes me forget about what I've done. I've maybe said something wrong, or one of my defects of character came out. I've been not been able to control it. But today I've got these coping mechanisms, and that's all just for learning for ideas in the fellowship, and learning for this programme in CA, you know, the 12-step programme, Alcoholics Anonymous. It's a beautiful programme, you know, and it's free, and it's great. It's life-changing, you know, and it's eye-opening. Every time you get through the big book, you know, you could get through it 100 times and see something different in it every time you went through it. It's a beautiful programme, you know. And somebody was saying today that people that never drank or took drugs to get through it as well, as a part of a life sort of building experience. It'd be great, it'd be a great tool at school to get the kids on it before they got to sort of 12, 13. Might stop a lot of damage, but that's where I'm today, Paul, with my story. And I'm glad to be here and clean.
Brilliant message. Thanks so much for sharing that. And it is a pleasure to know you. And I'm really, really pleased
Thanks,
to be
mate.
the group. And, you know, I always love hearing you share. And, you know, we can live today and we can live going forwards without a need to get high. You know, the great delusion was that I thought I was improving the position by getting in a mood and mind altered state, when actually I was worsening the position. I mean, that's a pretty strong delusion, you know, and that's, they reckon an alcoholic addict dies every 10, 12 seconds somewhere around the world, usually preceded with weeks, months, years of carnage and confusion. You know, we don't have to die of addiction. You know, we don't have to die. We can live, and we can learn to live sober and clean. You know, circumstances come along. We have bills to pay, families, circumstances, situations. You know, but we can persevere and endure. And I mean, you know, the reality is that, you know, I've known several folk over the years that have come along to 12-step meetings face to face and online with a very, very similar story, you know, and they've got long-term sobriety right now. You know, they've lost their marriage, they've lost their job, they've lost access to their children. They were holed up in a hotel using, gambling, whatever money they had left away, and their sanity and their health going. You know, I've literally heard that similar story many, many, many times. And, you know, I know real folks today that have got years free as a direct result of coming into contact with the rooms, the fellowship, the program, sponsorship, the steps, and the literature. You know, real folk.
Yeah.
You know, and it's nothing short of miraculous. You know, do you want to come in?
You get back out there again as well, you know, it's 10 times worse. It's a true state. But when the seed's been planted, it's sort of, when they say a mind full of AA and a belly full of beer doesn't mix, it doesn't sort of, you know.
That's right. That's right. Do you want to come in and share on this reading, Catherine?
Yeah. So most of us had been unwilling to admit we were alcoholics.
Sorry to interrupt. We've got the audio thing going on a little bit. Both of you were just a tad faint there.
I'll put it. Is that any better?
Yep. Carry on. That's fine. Yeah.
So yeah, most of us had been unwilling to admit that we were real alcoholics. By the time that I actually came to, it was a different fellowship at the time. See, then I knew I was an alcoholic, but I had tried for years and years to modify my drinking. My drinking seemed to take off when I had my child, who's 20. I don't know if I just noticed it more because I thought, oh, I shouldn't be doing it. But if I ever went out, then it was like getting off the lead kind of thing. And it really, the last year of my drinking, I basically spent continuously, this is when I was working as well, continuously topped up with wine, amphetamines and cannabis. I thought it was giving me energy, the amphetamines, because I decorated the house while I was working, while I was taking these things. I thought that it was improving my situation, but it certainly wasn't, because it created a real divide between John and I, and then we ended up so horrible and nasty to each other that we had to split up to realise that that's not the way you treat somebody and go through this programme to change, because it is a programme of change. If you don't change the person that comes in, as I say, then that same person will take you back out. So I did fully concede to myself that I was an alcoholic. The reason that I stopped going to meetings was it was ego. I wouldn't go to a meeting in my area. So I was driving. I've lost my licence now, but I can get it back. I've just never went to do it because of health issues. So I was driving an hour for a meeting just so that nobody in my area would see me. But now that I've come back, then I go to meetings in my area, I do Zoom meetings in my area, and then John introduced me to the CA, which, as John says, is more inclusive, because it wasn't just the alcohol with me, it was the full package, really. Once you have one thing in your system, then you think, well, that'd be good to have that to make me a wee bit more awake, or maybe we should try and get a sleep now, so better take something else to bring us back down. And it's just a horrible. This is even when I was working. I'd get up, I'd pace about to 10 o'clock because I was back shift, get a bottle of wine, go to work. Sometimes I'd amphetamines in me as well, get another bottle at lunchtime, and I would think that nobody noticed. But by the end, I didn't care if anybody noticed or not. I was, it says death or insanity here. I was off my work for 3 months, and I spent that 3 months in my bedroom with a bottle of wine under my pillow. The only time I went out of that bedroom was to get wine. So if that's not insanity, and I tried to commit suicide numerous times in that period. I spent most of the time being sick because I'd been taking 100 cocodamol at a time, going in and out of consciousness. I prayed every day that I wouldn't wake up. So that's definitely the gates of insanity or death. Now I pray at night. I thank God at night. Ask him in the morning. I do the 3rd step prayer. Ask him to direct my thinking. By turning my will and my life over to God just means turning my thoughts and my actions. So basically, I'm just doing what God wants me to do, or what I think, I perceive God wants me to do. But in my mind, that just means being a good person, and apologising when you need to, but ideally not doing anything that you need to apologise about. But nobody's perfect. Progress, not perfection. So yeah.
Lovely, lovely. Thanks so much, John. Or rather, I brought this topic earlier. I just want to share it with you as we come to the last 5-10 minutes. It was page 13. Let's see if I can just find it. There it is. Where it says there, I humbly offered myself to God as I then understood him. And I was just thinking while you was talking there, you know, how the miracle is produced, the transformation to going from using a cocktail of drugs on a daily basis to the point where we're half dead. I mean, I've actually worked with folks that have been 3/4 dead, surrounded by filth, unable to walk, barely able to think or talk, and they've now got continuous sobriety today. You know, I've witnessed those miracles, you know what I mean? And it's through consistency, you know, it's through going through these 12 steps with someone who knows what they're talking about, and then doing, you know, before you came in, John, me and Catherine were talking about consistency and into action. You know, and it's really, really important to, well, you mentioned it as well, John, to continue to practice, to do these things, you know, and the freedom is in the doing of them. I mean, you know, sometimes I come across new folks and they haven't done any reading apart from on their phone for years. You know, folks just don't read nowadays. They haven't done any writing. All they do is text. You know, they've not actually put pen to paper in some cases for a long time. You know, reading and writing and prayer. You know, I worked with one man, John and Catherine, a few years ago, and he said he'd never prayed in his life. And he was desperate. He was one of these, you know, half-dead characters, and he's now got over 2 years. This is another chap. And I simply said, are you prepared to give prayer a chance? Well, I don't know. What should I do? I said, well, just ask for wisdom and power and sobriety. Okay, I will do. The next day, yes, I prayed. How do you feel? Well, I feel a bit better. Anyway, eventually, and he now does service, and his wife hasn't come back. His mind, his health has, and he's still got his job. You know, so miracles happen. So I just want to put this on the screen here, John, and get your take on this page 13. Shall I just read a little bit of it again? I humbly offered myself to God, as I then understood him, to do with me as he would. I placed myself unreservedly under his care and direction. I admitted for the first time that of myself I was nothing, that without him I was lost. I ruthlessly faced my sins and became willing to have a newfound friend take them away root and branch. I've not had a drink since. Over to you, John. I'll give you the last few minutes. Over to you.
Yeah, I enjoyed that, Paul. Humbly offered yourself to God.
Oh, you're a little bit quiet, John.
Sorry, Paul. Is that me now?
That's you. Right.
Yeah, I like that. Humility, I think, plays a great part in sobriety. And it's mentioned quite a lot in the book, Humility. it's a thing that's understated, I think, in sobriety and try to work the programme humility. And you're humbled, you know, especially before God. You know, you do that through prayer. You know, you're humbly admitting your sins or your defects, you know, and you're asking for Him to take away these defects with maybe the step 7 prayer, you know. And it's a great way, you know, of removing that. You're filling your head with positive idea coping mechanisms, you know. You're asking for God to help, you know. You're placing negative thoughts with positive thoughts in your life, and you're asking for a higher power to give you these, you know, take away these defects and give you the new spiritual concept and awakening that's going to see you get through life and life's terms. So that's a beautiful part, you know. I ruthlessly faced my sins. I became willing to have Him, my newfound friend, take them away, root branch. I've not had a drink since. That's what I've done in step 4 and 5, you know, and 9. That's when I became willing to, you know, for the God I'm understanding. I prayed, I admitted everything to another human being and God, the exact nature of my wrongs, and asked for them to be removed, root and branch. And the freedom that gave me was great. It wasn't a bolt of lightning, but it was beautiful to have that weight, you know, taken off my back. It's like a rucksack, it just accumulates, you know. If you keep these defects in your head, you don't share them with your sponsor or somebody, you don't pray to have them removed, then they'll, you know, they'll just build up in the rucksack in your back and end up pulling you right down. And that's why I pray every day. That's why I keep in conscious contact with God. That's why I keep in contact with my sponsor. That's why I keep in contact with people like yourself, Paul. Get on the groups, stay in contact with the fellowship and other people, you know. I need the full boon on here, as I say, you know. I want everything, you know. I want the naan bread, the chapatis, you know, the side opera. I need everything in here, you know, to help me get through. I need every tool in the box to keep my sobriety and myself clean a day, you know. But I love that part of the book. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Well, I'm hungry now after listening to you, John. Oh dear, oh dear. Listen, it's been a wonderful, wonderful podcast. I just want to say to anyone that's still using drugs, you know, our message is hope and our promise is freedom. That
Yep.
an addict, any addict, can quit using, lose the desire to use, and find a new way to live. If you're looking for a miracle, you'll probably find it in Cocaine Anonymous.
Yeah.
You know, reach out, stay connected, take the suggestions, follow the clear-cut direction, and you can have a hope and a future. You absolutely can. So on the screen is some meetings. There are lots and lots of meetings. In fact, there is literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of meetings. At the top there's cocaineanonymous.org.uk, where you will find knowledge about face-to-face meetings in Britain and online meetings around the world. Similarly with the other two websites as well. You'll often hear me and John at the one that's in the middle in the big box there, 2 p.m, 8 p.m, 9:30 p.m. UK times every day. And it's on that Zoom code there, 971-721-4725. And you'll be very, very welcome to come along. Never be put off going to a Zoom meeting. No one's obliged to put the camera on. Indeed, you know, probably 80% don't. Nor are you obliged to speak. Conversely, you'd like to share, you'd be welcome to share. There's lots and lots of other meetings. All the ones in blue are on every single day.
Yeah.
Well, you know, we're a family outside of the meetings as well. We're real folk that are available outside of meetings as well. So stay strong, stay connected, stay in the literature, and stay in prayer, more power, less power. You know, we have a solution and we know how it works. So keep coming back. Thank you so much, John. And
Thank you, Paul.
Really good for you both to come along tonight and come on the channel.
Thank you for inviting us on.
We've still been recorded, Paul, yeah?
I was still on just now. We're still live. Yeah, thank you so much, John.
Yep. That's been brilliant, Paul. Thanks again. Thanks, mate.
Yeah,
Great
it's been really good to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Great message of hope. You're so welcome. You know.
Thank you. Thanks, mate.
Okay, family. Okay, we'll be back soon with another broadcast.